is up, everybody? It's Animac here for Anime Uproar, and in this video we will be talking about a major development in the big theory that I've been talking about on this channel for a few months. In episode 125, the Grand Priest gave us another major clue that this theory could be true, so I had to make a quick update video. With the recent news that Dragon Ball Super will stop broadcasting on Japanese TV at the end of March 2018, there has been a lot of speculation of what is going to happen with the Tournament of Power and with Dragon Ball Super in general. Is Dragon Ball Super ending completely after the Tournament of Power? Is the series just going on a break and coming back later? Or is there going to be a brand new Dragon Ball series or spin-off sometime in the future? If you want to stick around until the end of this video, I will share my thoughts on what I think is going to happen next with Dragon Ball Super. But first, we need to talk about this theory because it is even more important now that the future of Dragon Ball Super is uncertain and we don't know. Consider subscribing for more videos like this one, and now let's get into it. I won't go over all of the details again in this video because I talked about it in great detail in the previous two videos dealing with this theory, so I will link those at the end of this video and also in the description if you want to check them out. I don't want to repeat myself too much and take up too much of your time, but to make a long story short, in the previous videos I argued that Dragon Ball Super has spent a lot of time showing us how bored Zeno is most of the time. At least until the Tournament of Power starts, at which point we are shown over and over again just how much both Zenos are loving the tournament and having the times of their lives, watching all of the epic battles between the different universes. We also know that in the past, when Zeno was bored or in a bad mood, he was known to do extreme things like erase 6 entire universes before the tournament even began. The theory that I put forward states that the Grand Priest is actually good and not a villain like some people seem to think, and that the Grand Priest is using the Tournament of Power to teach Zeno, who obviously seems very naive and childish, a very important lesson. I think that the Grand Priest saw how bored Zeno usually is, and he also saw how Zeno can get into a bad mood and do terrible things like erase 6 entire universes. So the Grand Priest finally understands the consequences of his actions. As someone who is both childish and naive, and yet so powerful that he exists on a completely higher plane than mortals do, Zeno doesn't really seem to understand that his actions are hurting people. In episode 77, we see the Zenos playing a game where they are flicking planets into each other like they were marbles. But when the planets hit each other, the Zenos are only seeing it as a hologram, a projection, and they don't see the actual destruction that their actions are causing in the real world. In this sense, Zeno is living in a sort of bubble where he is insulated from the consequences of his actions and never has to face them. However, with the Tournament of Power, everything changes. The Zenos are now watching an epic showdown between the mortals of 8 different universes up close and personal, and they are having a great time keeping score and watching all of the fights and cool and interesting moves and techniques. Previously, Zeno probably had little to no interaction with mortals at all, so he didn't even see them as people. But now, because of the tournament, Zeno sees that mortals can be a lot of fun. They are interesting, intelligent, some of them are very powerful, and they can be really entertaining to watch. Since Zeno hates being bored, the fact that mortals can be so entertaining means that they have value. They are not just insects whose existence doesn't even matter. So my theory was this: the Grand Priest knew that Zeno would love the tournament and have a great time watching it, and he knew that as a result of the tournament, Zeno would see how interesting mortals could be. The Grand Priest also knows that Zeno lives forever. He is immortal. So when the Tournament of Power is over, Zeno will still have an eternity of boredom ahead of him. This was already foreshadowed back in episode 120 when the Zenos are looking at their god pads and they notice how many fighters have already been eliminated. At this point they say, soon it'll be over, and they both appear to be clearly disappointed. Right after that, the Grand Priest assures the Zenos that there are still some great battles ahead, but the fact remains that the tournament has to end soon. At the end of the tournament, only 1 universe will survive and 7 will be erased. That means that along with the 4 universes that didn't have to compete in the tournament, there are 5 universes left altogether. Now here's where the events of episode 125 come into play. As Dispo is facing off against Frieza, he is moving so fast that the Zenos cannot follow, not even when they are using the slow motion function on their God Pads. At this point, the Grand Priest says that Dispo's speed appears to be far beyond the capacity of the God Pad. He then goes on to add, and I quote, "Zeno-sama, next time I shall prepare a more high-spec God Pad." Now it's easy to overlook this quick scene because we were focusing on the fight between Dispo and Frieza, but when you stop and think about it, what does the Grand Priest mean by next time? The only thing that this could be referring to is the next time there is a tournament that the Zenos are watching and need to keep up with the incredibly fast movements of the fighters. Now, we were led to believe that there is only ever going to be one tournament of power, but this is a very strong foreshadowing that there is going to be another tournament, a new tournament sometime in the future. This takes us right back to the fact that Zeno is so often bored, except during the Tournament of Power when he is having a blast. My theory was that once the tournament ends, Zeno will be very disappointed with the prospect of living for eternity and never experiencing such a fun event again. And at this point, the Grand Priest will suggest holding another Tournament of Power sometime in the future. Or better yet, holding multiple tournaments that happen every few years or so, like the Olympics, where each universe can show off their best warriors and compete for the title of strongest in all of existence. This new tournament or tournaments could take place between just the remaining 5 universes, but 5 teams is not as fun as 8 or potentially even more. So what if the Grand Priest suggests to Zeno to bring back all the erased universes in exchange for having them all compete in this tournament regularly every few years or so? If this happened, it would make everything that the Grand Priest has done up to this point make perfect sense. The Grand Priest realizes that Zeno is often bored, and when he gets bored and moody, bad things happen. Maybe one day Zeno will decide to erase all of existence on a whim. So the Grand Priest decides to teach Zeno that mortals have value and can cure Zeno's boredom. Zeno then witnesses the Tournament of Power, sees that mortals are fun and have value, and he wants to keep enjoying the tournament in the future. So he decides to undo the bad things he has done in the past, and he brings back the erased universes and stops erasing mortals on a whim because he understands their value and importance now. In this way, the Grand Priest saves the multiverse and teaches Zeno an important lesson without confronting Zeno directly, because of course Zeno is too strong to force into anything. Zeno can't be forced to do anything because he is the strongest. He has to be persuaded and taught a lesson through the tournament. And what does all this mean for the story? It opens up a ton of new possibilities, with new tournaments coming up in the future, new universes potentially competing with each other, and so on. And maybe Zeno even decides to bring back the 6 universes that were erased before the tournament so that they can compete too. Which means that the story has 6 new universes to uncover and plenty of material to work with for future arcs. I really think that Dragon Ball Super is heavily foreshadowing that this Tournament of Power will not be the last. Zeno is just having way too much fun, so I really think that more tournaments are going to happen. We don't know how soon, we don't know what the rules and regulations of these new tournaments will be, but I am confident that this is where the story is taking us. More and more clues are pointing in this same direction. If you want to explore this theory in greater detail, there's 2 videos in the description and at the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts, let me know if you agree. Is the Grand Priest using the tournament to teach Zeno an important lesson about mortals? And is he planning to convince Zeno to hold more tournaments in the future? Also, how do you think that the recent news we got that Dragon Ball Super will no longer be broadcasting weekly on Japanese TV will affect the end of the tournament and the story as a whole? Personally, I think that even though Dragon Ball Super might be going on a hiatus, this is not the end of the Dragon Ball franchise by a long shot. A new Dragon Ball movie is already confirmed for December 2018, and just like the movies Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F resulted in the creation of Dragon Ball Super, I am sure that the new movie means that either a new spin-off series or a continuation of Dragon Ball Super is on the way. If Dragon Ball wasn't profitable and they had to cancel Dragon Ball Super because of that, then there would not be a major movie scheduled to come out at the end of this year. The fact that the movie is on its way means that of course Dragon Ball is profitable, and as long as the franchise is popular and profitable, then I am sure that we don't have to worry about the franchise ending anytime soon. At any rate, I grew up with Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z is one of the biggest reasons why you can expect more Dragon Ball content here on this channel in the future. If you enjoy these videos and want to see more, be sure to leave a like to let me know, and if you're new to the channel,